is Renee Veldman-Tentori, and on Tuesday, the 14th of June, I had the pleasure of speaking at the Spark conference in Amsterdam. And I promised the attendees, as well as some people who weren't able to make it to the presentation, that I'd do a screencast about the e-learning explosion. So here it is, and welcome. I will also share a link to these slides if anybody wants to read through them, but I thought it might help if I talk through them with you as well. So today's class is about sharing my story and my experiences with e-learning so far. And I've split this huge topic into two areas. Firstly, do you want to learn? And secondly, do you want to teach? You may be interested in doing both. A lot of people are. And I will cover both of those. So first of all, I am a lifelong learner. The photo there is one of my official qualifications when I graduated with my Bachelor of Business in Melbourne, in Australia. I did a double major in marketing and tourism, but I was a fairly early user of online learning. I studied that bachelor's degree through 2 pregnancies and between 2 countries. During I think it was 5 years that I studied part-time, I firstly lived in the Netherlands and I used to get packets sent to me in the post. And then I watched as things progressed, and we then got CD-ROMs, and then everything kind of moved online. During the time of studying my bachelor's, I also moved from the Netherlands to Australia, and now I've moved back again, but I graduated there. And one of the questions I often get asked is, what's the difference? In terms of the piece of paper, it's exactly the same. It's identical and recognized worldwide as the same as someone who's studied on campus. And personally, I think it takes a lot more discipline to study through distance learning. It's got advantages and disadvantages. And for me personally, I wouldn't have been able to study on campus. As you saw, I moved and I had children. So I really needed that flexibility, and that's where I got so excited about the possibilities. I'm now actually teaching at the Hague University of Applied Sciences. I started almost 2 years ago as a freelancer, and now I'm working my way towards a part-time master's myself so that I can be a long-term staff member there. You need a master's for a long-term contract. And I am teaching on campus, and I'm also following my master's on campus. So it's really interesting to be able to compare. We are experiencing an e-learning explosion. It's truly learning without borders, and all you need is a computer, an internet connection, and an interest. I am so excited and passionate about this topic, and I see it as a trend that we're already part of the way through. This has been going on for quite a number of years now, but I can see that e-learning is going to be a massive part of all our lives in the future. Because it's a fairly new area, there's no real consensus on the exact terms and exactly what they mean. So in that case, you just have to be a little bit careful when you're speaking with somebody or you're doing your own research about what exactly e-learning is and what you want to do. I've put a few terms down here. I won't speak through them all, but you can read through them in the presentation. But e-learning essentially means using electronic media and ICT or internet technology tools in learning. It can occur in a classroom or something that people sometimes forget. They think of it as only online, but you can use it in a classroom as well in the traditional style. That's also called blended learning. Further down the list there, a combination of digital and face-to-face. I'm based in the Netherlands, so here they call it in Dutch digitaal onderwijs, and I'm sure that there's local terms all around the world. Distance learning usually means essentially that you're not on campus at all. Online learning is used fairly interchangeably with e-learning. MOOCs is one that's being used more and more regularly, which is massive open online courses where there's almost unlimited participation. But as I said, lots of different terms for a new field, so they won't always be used consistently. So just pay attention to that when you're doing some research and deciding on what's best for you. So firstly, if you want to learn, here's some tips to get started. Before you even pick up a notebook or a computer or start signing up for courses, I think you should think about these 5 things first. Firstly, what are your learning goals? Where are you now and where do you want to be? Look around at your resources. So these include things like budget, time, whether you've got an iPad, whether you're using a laptop computer. What is your learning style? There's visual, text. Some people are a lot more independent. Some people need a bit of motivation from others. Do you require a formal qualification is going to make a big difference. And finally, a lot of people are learning to further their career. So consider your current and future career options and come up with a plan. Put together your own curriculum, or you can just explore just for fun. So here are 10 recommended resources to get started. Colleen Rycraft-Smith is a good friend of mine, and I also know Joe Parfitt, who are the authors of this book, Career in Your Suitcase. And I recommend this for anyone that's building their career, but I think it's a great tool to work out your learning goals first. It helps you understand things like what skills do you already have that are transferable skills in your current job, in a future job that you might want to have, or just to develop yourself. But reading a book like this, there's plenty of others I'm sure, but it helps you get really clear about why you're learning, and that will help keep you motivated and help you make good choices about which courses to follow. I love Open University UK Open Learn. They're one of the leaders in this field, and I remember when I started with them, because my daughter is just about to turn 9 and she was a baby at the time, and we'd just moved from the Netherlands to Australia, and I was one of the first students to try out the new technology that they were experimenting with then, which was a webcam and like a virtual classroom. And I remember they sent me the webcam from the UK to Australia. There was about 10 of us in the class, and I was one of 2 who was outside of the UK. And they sent me an email saying, it's going to be 5 a.m. your time that we're giving the online lectures. Is that okay? And because I had a brand new baby, 5 a.m. was perfectly fine with me. So I was actually up often feeding my baby while I was following this course, which was a really interesting one on ethics. And I love that with online learning, you can follow topics like that I would never have even thought of studying a course on ethics. But it was I think it was only about a 6-week course, and I learned a lot from it, and I really enjoyed it. It was completely free. The Open Learn ARM is the one without qualifications, but access to awesome materials. And going back to that thing, do you need the piece of paper? Do you need a recognised qualification? Then you're going to want to look at Open University's main branch and follow one of those courses. But either way, they're leaders in their field. You can follow them worldwide. Skillshare is one that's been around for a few years now, and it's kind of just learning for fun and exploring interests. They tend to base their classes around a core project, so it's really kind of hands-on stuff. You can have a look through the types of classes and the way they categorize it. When I first started with Skillshare, they were doing mainly kind of business and creative topics, but they've branched out and they've got a massive range now. Udemy is another. Again, it's learning mostly for fun. Almost anyone can teach on here, and also Skillshare, you can sign up as a teacher, and I'll cover that later if you're interested in teaching. But Udemy, I've found that you need to sort through a lot of different types of courses. Some are really good quality, some are a little iffy, but there's a really wide range on there, and it's worth taking a look. I like how they make it so mobile. They're promoting that you can learn it on your iPad, but you can use any desktop or your mobile as well. I like with them, I went to one of these holiday places, these kind of little camping things you have in the Netherlands, and the Wi-Fi was pretty rubbish there. So I downloaded some courses before I went and learnt by watching some short videos while I was offline. So that was pretty cool. Coursera. So this is a platform that uses very high class institutions. So you'll recognize a lot of the names on Coursera, and not anyone can teach on here. You really have to be, I think, a registered university, and you have to go through an application process. So it's not really individuals that are teaching on here, it's organizations. They call it the world's best courses. I mean, they all say they're the world's best, but either way, it gives you fabulous access to awesome quality materials on a really wide range of topics. I believe you can double check this when you go and have a look at their site, but I believe that you don't get any qualifications for free, but you can pay an upgrade. So let's say that you followed a course and at some point you decided, okay, I want to go for some qualifications. And because most of these, if not all, are from recognized universities, you can then pay an additional surcharge and actually sit the exam or have contact with the university and lecturers themselves to get that piece of paper if you want to. Creative Live is one I've not looked at for a little while, but I was a big addict to this for a while, and I don't think they've changed, but the way that it was running when I was using it was that they record very high quality classes. That's one of their points of differentiation. They have a studio somewhere in the States, I think it is, and they actually fly lecturers in from all around the world. I was following a photographer from Australia, and while they're recording it, it's free, but it's like attending a workshop. They'll have a 2 or 3 day course where it will run from the morning to the evening, depending on the time differences worldwide. And while they're recording it, they'll live stream it and you can watch it. And while you're watching it, you can get access to a discounted price to buy the completed course. And then once they've finished recording it, it goes into their library of courses and you can buy it. They're not as cheap as some of the others, but they're really high quality with well-known instructors. And it's mostly, as the name says, creative. So art and design, photo and video, and that kind of thing. I am a massive TED fan and TEDx, and there's now TED Ed, which is quite new and not many people seem to know about it. And I'm really excited about the possibilities. I am trying to find the time to spend a few hours playing around with it. But from what I see with TED Ed, is that you can pick almost any YouTube video and build a class around it. The TED's people themselves record some, but I think they're opening the platform for other people to use this as well, which is really exciting. TED and TEDx themselves aren't essentially an e-course, but the ideas in them, I think, can spark your interest in different fields. And I think this is what TED Ed is going to fill in that gap, where you can take TED Talks and TEDx Talks and build lessons around them. So really worth checking out. Podcasts and iTunes U has been around for many years. I have to say I've not picked it up too much myself. I've kind of put it on my iPad, on my iPhone, and I'm not such a just audio person for the podcast. I like to watch a video and I make notes. I've got a special learning notebook that I use. But it's definitely a way to learn things. So if you like listening to things, I think there's some videos in there as well, but it's another world quality platform that you can check out. And I've also put, for example, down the bottom there, Social Media Examiner. There's a lot of industry leaders. So working in the social media industry myself, you'll notice that this trend is so huge now that I imagine in almost any industry that you're in, there'll be industry leaders that are recording lessons and podcasts, often for free. So Social Media Examiner do a fabulous, I think it's a weekly podcast. So I'm really enthusiastic and excited about this trend of sharing knowledge. And all you need to know is how to access it and which platforms to use. Hootsuite, Grovo, there are many out there. Grovo have just recently stopped targeting individuals and going after whole companies now. But Hootsuite, when I did their online learning, it was a paid platform. Now they've also brought in what's often called the freemium model. They now have free access to a part of their learning, and then you pay to upgrade. But either way, there's a lot of different companies now. I think HubSpot might be doing it as well, where they're teaching digital skills. Digital skills is such a fast moving trend, and you need to figure out what gaps you need to fill in for your job or just your interests. Google are doing a really cool one called the Google Garage in English, or it's there was an event I went to last week here in the Netherlands in Dutch. And they aim at small business owners, and they take you through a series of free online classes, and you can earn a kind of certificate at the end. So I'm working my way through that at the moment. But I am absolutely sure that you'll notice this trend with most big businesses, where they start offering their customers and their clients these short lessons to fill in any gaps of knowledge. So take advantage of that. And last but not least, you can create your own curriculum online. Use Google, look at the App Store or any of these other 9 resources that I've given you. You can put together whatever learning program that you want to, whatever you need to learn, whatever you just feel like playing around with, it's up to you. So that section talked about if you want to learn online. Now, if you'd like to teach, I'll give you some tips to get started. Now, I have been running the online Zesty social media school. I ran it for about 5 years. I have taken a break for about the last year because my website got hacked, unfortunately. I'll tell you that story quickly in a minute. And I decided not to pick it up again because I'm so busy with my live teaching at the university right now. But I will be starting again later this year. But I've learnt a lot in the many hours I've been trying to work towards teaching online. I will say to start off with, it's a lot harder than I first realised. I would love to be sitting here now and saying, I have this great course online that you can go and do right now with these beautiful videos. But I've been working towards that myself for literally probably about 2 years now. A few things have impacted that, partly because I took on a job teaching at the university, so that takes a bulk of my time now, and I've decided to kind of put my e-learning courses on hold. But I see such potential for it, and I am so interested in it, and am definitely not letting this idea go. But there's a few things I've learnt that I'll share and hopefully save you some time. So firstly, you can build an online school. This is what I did that took many hours, but I really enjoyed it and I learned a lot in the process. So I have a WordPress website and I bought what's called a plugin called Woo Themes Sensei. I was an early adopter for this program and I think I bought it for about US $99 maybe 2 years ago. And I think now it's quite a bit more expensive. I think it's about $150 per year that you'll pay for it. But if you've ever worked on a WordPress website and you're a bit comfortable with that, then you can give it a go. It's a way to build your own course online that people can work through. I still have mine live for free at the moment, but it's about 18 months old, the materials on it. And one of the advantages of building your own online school is you have total control. You can charge customers. So I used another plugin called, I think it's WooCommerce that I used. It's where people could pay and I can accept money through PayPal I used. But as I said, I got hacked. The hacking wasn't to try and steal my materials or anything or the data. The hacking was to embed things within my website. I can't think of the name of it now, but you know, when you use a website, you don't have security on it. They're trying to download things on people's computer. So I picked that up pretty quickly, as did Google, and it got taken care of. But it does mean that if you build your own platform, you have to host it. And you need very high level security. You just need to know what you're doing. I ran it all myself, and now I have shifted it. I work with Lemonberry in The Hague to build a website, to host my website, and they help me clean it all up and have high security on that. So if you want to build your own online school, you're going to need a lot of time and you're going to need a really decent budget. I can't tell you off the top of my head. If you are interested and you contact me, I'll put you in touch with the right people to get a quote, but you're looking at least several thousand euros. And while this was all happening with my site, it's now all fixed, but I just haven't had the time to go back and kind of get the motivation and energy myself to redo all the materials. I've still got them. I haven't lost them in the hacking, but I think now that I might use other platforms like this. So you can teach on Skillshare. There's a new one called Teachable, Udemy, and many others. To do that, you build your own course and then you run it on their platform and they get customers for you or students, or you can send your own students there and they take a cut of your of the price of the course. It gets pretty competitive out there, and you'll see now that courses can range from anywhere from a few euros or dollars right up to the hundreds, if not more. And that doesn't really say a lot about the quality of the course. So you need to do your research both as a student and a teacher with these platforms. But what I like, compared to building it all myself with this one, is that their platforms are all set up and I've got the added bonus of them sending students to me. On the downside, they take a cut, and it can be a really big cut. So make sure you read the fine print really well about what percentage they're taking. I'm also fairly sure that the IP, the materials that you host on their sites is yours, but you want to make absolutely sure. So if you're going to teach via another platform, make sure that you read through the fine print. I had hoped to have a course up and running on these platforms already, but it's taking me a lot longer than I had first expected. But I'm hoping that in 2017, I'm going to have at least one on each platform so I can experiment with them. Another tip I'll give you if you want to teach is if you've never taught before, you might have all this awesome knowledge, but it's not a bad idea to do a course yourself about teaching. Coursera, for example, do one about learning to teach online from the University of New South Wales in Australia. And this will just give you some tips about how to structure your materials and how to keep students engaged, because don't be discouraged. It's perfectly normal that people will sign up and not get past the first week. So following a course like this and understanding learning behaviour will also help you manage your courses. Ask yourself some questions. So all of these many hours of experience, I've also piled into some blog posts so you can read through some things about where to start, things to think about when you're creating your e-learning course. So you can go and have a look at those. And finally, gather some resources and learn from others' experiences. So I also got some resources gathered in this blog post for you. You can type that in or click through. And I have also just started a Facebook group. So if you look at the e-learning explosion on Facebook or message me via zesty.com, I've created a Facebook group now where we can share experiences and learn from each other about learning. So to sum up, the knowledge out there is exciting, but it's overwhelming. Frenzy, fatigue, focus is a theory that I live by. I wrote a blog post about this a few years ago, and I keep coming back to this to help me handle all of this information overload. There's a frenzy. Social media, life in general these days, e-learning, there's so much out there. There's this crazy frenzy, and it's tiring. You will be fatigued. But by learning to focus, then you will get a lot out of e-learning, social media, life. So the focus, write some notes. I'm sitting here I've got a good old fashioned pinboard. I love my digital, but I like my paper as well. And I just, kind of stick up a few notes of the goals that I have, the learning goals that I have for the week. So try and focus, pick one course and give it a go. And I wish you all the best with the e-learning explosion. I'd love to hear from you, so please get in touch via zesty.com, or you can find me on all major social media platforms. But good luck, and I'll see you online.